Valentine's Day is on its way. We often see imagery of swans and other birds during this time to represent the romantic season. But in today's video, we're going to take a look back at Harmsworth Natural History to meet the Hornbills. I'm going to share why the hornbill makes quite the romantic bird. But first, before I do, we're going to look and see what scientists used to think about hornbills back in 1910 by using Harmsworth Natural History as our guide. So you ready to join the safari? Let's go back in time to see what scientists thought about the unique, and albeit beautiful, but unusual, birds known as hornbills. With Harmsworth Natural History being published in 1910, you can imagine, and well, I hope, we've certainly learned a lot since then. Let's take a look at the hornbills to see exactly what scientists used to think. Specifically, let's take a look at the ground hornbill section.
It reads, "The curious and vulture-like ground hornbills, constituting the first subfamily, are peculiar to Africa and have a hollow casque. The group is represented by only two species, namely the Abyssinian hornbill and the South African hornbill. Known to the Boers as the Bromvogel, the South African ground hornbill is regarded as a fetch among many of the native tribes, being a rain omen with the Kafirs, who believe that if one of these birds is killed, there will be rain for a long time, and who, therefore, in times of drought, will throw one of the birds into a vlei in order that rain may follow. The bird is so filthy and offensive that, according to native ideas, even throwing its body into the water will make the river sick, and the only way to get rid of it is to wash it away to the sea, which can be done by heavy rains and the flooding of the river. The nests are placed in the holes of trees or in the hollows formed by 3 or 4 branches striking off from the same spot, and it is believed that several females lay in the same nest."
Next up is the great pied hornbill. What did they used to think about them in 1910?
The great pied hornbill, the largest of the hornbills and the sole member of its genus, measures nearly 5 feet in length. Observers in India discovered the strange nesting habits of hornbills previous to Livingstone, who was generally credited with having been the first to direct attention to the incarceration of the female bird during the period of incubation. Colonel Tickell, for instance, writing in 1855 of the nesting of the great pied hornbill in Tenasserim, observes that, "I was shown a hole high up in the trunk of a moderately large straight tree, branchless for about 50 feet from the ground, in which I was told the female lay concealed. The hole was covered with a thick layer of mud, all but a small space, through which she could thrust the end of her bill and so receive food from the male." Harmsworth then carries on by saying that the female seems to assist in the matting in of the nest hole, using leaf mold and earth mixed with her own droppings and various decaying vegetable substances, so that the nests are often filthy and give forth an intolerable stench.
That leads us to the crested hornbill section.
The wedge-tailed hornbills are all small birds compared with the general run of the species of Buceros, and their mode of life seems to be somewhat different from those of the big hornbills of the east, though they do have the same habit of plastering up the female in a tree at the season of incubation.
So are these things still true today? Let's take a closer look.
It turns out that the southern ground hornbill, or Abyssinian ground hornbill, is the largest species of hornbill on Earth. They can fly up to 18 miles an hour and have a wingspan that reaches 4 feet across. Now, see that fleshy bit of their throat? This is called a wattle. It tells us if the bird is either a male or female. This guy is a male. His wattle is completely red, whereas a female has a patch of violet blue. The species' conservation status is affected by numerous biological factors, two of which are that they live a long time. Their lifespan is estimated to be about 50 to 60 years. But they also have a low reproductive rate, roughly one chick fledged per breeding pair every 9 years. Harmsworth said that these beautiful birds were not quite that they were filthy and offensive. But personally, I don't quite get that impression. Yes, they look unique, but are they truly filthy? Not quite. Earlier on, you saw footage of one preening themselves. Although I think they might get this filthy reputation because of their diet. They eat fruit and seeds, but also small monkeys, insects, tortoises, and even hares and squirrels. Yeah, their diet is quite varied for sure. And what about their cultural significance? Harmsworth did mention about their connection to rain. Does this still hold true today? Well, a study in 2014 looked at exactly this, the cultural significance of the southern ground hornbill, and found that while there are still beliefs that they are a bad omen of evil spirits, in other cultures they can actually be considered protection against lightning and food shortages. Some even believe that they can help in foreseeing the future.
So now that we've taken a closer look at what Harmsworth Natural History has to say about the hornbills, now's my turn to share my case on why I think hornbills make a much better bird to display on Valentine's Day imagery than perhaps, say, swans.
So we read over the intriguing history in Harmsworth about the bizarre nesting habits of hornbills. Is this true, or was this a coincidence and a one-off? Well, it turns out that the hornbills are indeed fans of an interesting way of nesting. I should mention that there are 54 species of hornbill, 23 of which live in savannas and forests of Africa, and the other 31 live in Asia, mostly in tropical rainforest. That being said, all but 2 species of hornbills nest in tree cavities or rock crevasses that are sealed shut except for a narrow vertical slit. With the female sealed inside, this slit is only about half an inch wide, thus being wide enough to pass food through, but still narrow enough to seal out potential predators. This sounds to me rather romantic. The female has sealed herself away to protect herself and their young, and the male diligently seeks out food and brings it to his family. Nothing quite says love like building a home together made out of lumps of soil mixed with his saliva and sometimes droppings, chewed wood, mud, and so on. Although much of the work of building the nest is done by the female from within, while she is doing this, the male brings her food, as well as more material for the plastering of this protection wall. Once this wall building is complete, the female is trapped inside the nest, with only that small vertical slit to look outside to the outside world to get food and communicate with her partner. Female hornbills remain trapped inside this nest for about 3 to 5 months. During this time, the eggs are incubating and the chicks will grow up. And entirely for this time, they are dependent on the male for food.
So what do you think? Do the hornbills make a fine bird for Valentine's Day gifts? I think so. Take a look at my little collection here. Leave a thumbs up if you agree. And if you missed last week's video on the introduction to Harmsworth Natural History, and looking at macaws, check out the link up here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.